Hello, I'm Nicola and I'm at the Museum of Cambridge today to do a memory session about childhood and playing. The museum collects items all about the past ways of life in Cambridgeshire, the city and villages and towns around the rural countryside. It is known for its curious collection of items, and all of them have fascinating stories that bring alive the history of this area. Parts of the collection they have are to do with toys and to do with games, and right at the top of the museum is a fantastic attic room that shows all of the different toys from different eras, Victorian and Edwardian toys, and toys into the 20th century and wartime. It also, seeing the attic room shows us that there's some things that are very different that people used to play with, but also there's a lot that is just the same that children have loved to play with all through time. Do you have a photograph of yourself when you were young, when you were at school perhaps, or a photograph of when you've been with your family? It's really funny looking at ourselves again when we were younger and seeing what the clothes we used to wear, what we used to look like, who the people are that were in our lives and the places that we used to go to. It's also interesting to share these with people who are in our lives now, who perhaps didn't know us when we were younger, and it's interesting for them to see what was important to us when we were young, what we used to enjoy doing, and sometimes what we were very good at. The handling collection here at the museum is available for groups, memory cafes, care organisations, care homes or sheltered housing units who might want to borrow items so that you can run a session, and this film has been created so that it gives that inspiration. You can loan the items at the same time and we can play along together. We've decided to share these collections on film, and this handling collection is full of things to look at and things to try and games to play. Do you have a photograph of you when you were younger? A family photograph, or of you playing or being with friends? It's funny looking at ourselves from the past and we see the things that we used to wear and the places that were important to us. And it's also useful for those people that are in our lives, if they didn't know us when we were younger, to be able to see and to hear the stories that we share and the people that were important and the things that we love to do. It helps to create a sense of who you are as a person now. Having fun like this is really good, and having playing with these toys to laugh together and to connect with other people is really important. And if you have people who are younger than you around you in your life, perhaps you might want to try playing with them and involve them, and they can join in too with this. Let's start with favourite toys. And what was your favourite toy? Was there some particular toy that you had that was very special to you and was with you through your childhood, like a teddy bear like this one, or a doll like this one, a special doll? She's very different to dolls today. She's made of pottery and made of fabric. She's got a pottery face and it's painted here. And the rest of her body is very flexible, made and sewn all together. And they've been well looked after and very treasured possessions for somebody. Maybe you had a special story or a favourite book that was that followed you through your childhood. Often children like to have the same story either read to them or like to read them over and over again. At the moment this is one that's very a favourite in my family, and it's really helpful to just have a look through and to start thinking about what was important in this story for me. Why did I like it so much? When you were playing, did you like to play outside or inside or both? Were you a tree climber or were you a skipper? And did you take your bike out? Were you on your bike every day and cycling through the countryside, going on adventures? Maybe you were really into some things specific like trains and you had a train set up inside. So in this collection we've got some toys and games that you played with inside and outside, so let's have a look at some of those. Got board games, the kinds of things that a few of us could play with friends or family. And this is Snakes and Ladders, an older version of Snakes and Ladders. Very colourful, but you remember playing it with a dice and counters, so your number would come up on the dice and you'd take your counter along to try and get to the very top and be the winner. And with Snakes and Ladders, do you remember it was kind of going up the ladder was the way to get on, and if you fell on the tail of a snake you came all the way back down again. This one's quite an interesting game because you've got if you fell on a snake, if you showed temper, then your snake took you down to regret. But if you took courage and you went up on the ladder, your reward was at the top of the ladder. So it's quite an interesting game. There's lots of different kinds of board games or dominoes that we play. This is an indoor game as well, different things that, it's a really interesting example of a little book to show different costumes, how people used to dress dolls, or sometimes have characters that you could cut out and put different uniforms on and make them change and become different characters. This is a lovely handling book because it's got very defined colour and the graphics are really good on here, and you can turn a page and make something happen very quickly. So we see this person, you choose an outfit, there's a lot of choosing, and you can colour there was colouring involved here as well. And marbles is a game for outside, if we're looking outside or inside, but mainly outside. People used to play this in the playground or on the street and in your yard or garden. And marbles has been around for many years. It's the kind of game where you're playing with, sometimes people played with clay balls, different coloured clay balls, and it's a really simple game. So you play with a group of people taking turns. You'd have a circle, either in chalk or a piece of string, and you'd roll your marble into that circle, like that, and wherever it stopped, then you'd take another turn, and you'd use maybe a bigger marble or another marble to try and nudge out other people's marbles so that you were left the winner. Do you remember collecting marbles? That was another thing that came from this, is collecting the best marbles or the biggest marbles. These were blobbers, or you might have had a different name for them. And there's other marbles that looked great as well. If you had a single colour, that was okay. But if you had one with several colours, that was even better. Did you have a collection of marbles like this? Sound great, don't they? And they've got a lovely feel to them too. Skipping next. Do you remember all of the skipping games that you used to do? These are a replica pair of skipping ropes. We used to sometimes use rope just on its own, and you could skip by yourself or you could skip as part of a group. And the skipping ropes with one at either end, with a group of you skipping to a tune and going out, running around, joining in, jumping out. So maybe there's somebody with you now that can have a go and show you what it was like the skipping, and you can tell them what the games you used to play. We've got some skipping songs here that are quite fun, and in the box there's a few more. I remember this one. I like coffee, I like tea, I'd like for Sally to come in with me. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, and then you jump in. And there's another one here that always makes me laugh. Johnny gave me apples, Johnny gave me pears, Johnny gave me a penny to kiss him on the stairs. I gave him back his apples, I gave him back his pears, I gave him back his penny and left him on the stairs. In the collection there's lots of different games you can play, and you can have a go, all have a go. There's lots of different yo-yos, and there's a few spinning tops that you can have a go at, and everybody can have a go together. These are the kinds of games, they're simple activities, very small movements needed to do these, and these have been age-old toys for children. If we look at the cup and ball, it was quite an early toy, and it's evident dating it back to medieval times for the cup and ball for children to play with. It feels a lovely shape. I'm going to have a go. I still can't do it. Why don't you have a go? See if you can have a go with it. And the yo-yos, this is a new yo-yo because people are still playing with them now. And there are lots of yo-yos in the handling collection, so you can have a go. These are nice activities that you can do while you're sitting down, and you can have a go. Now, did you used to do yo-yo competitions, and were you good at this? I'm not very good at this. Maybe like this. And lots of spinning tops, just that simple action of twisting. It's even nicer if they've got colours on them, and as they spin, the colours change or the patterns change. Oh. There we go. These are simple toys. Many people sometimes made these if you had somebody who was really good with wood in the family, or they're simple things to make. We make many of the toys. We used to like making things. If you were good at sewing or knitting and making a soft toy, or sometimes just using paper and making toys out of anything. We used to make games from anything, didn't we? So what I've got here are a few paper games. We've got some instructions in the information below the film about all of these different things, about these and some other games that you might want to have a go at. This is a very simple folding activity that you can do. It's so you can do with somebody else, taking turns. It's a sheet of paper and you're folding. It's a nice finger activity to just fold at different seams. This is some people call this a nippy nose or a fortune teller, and you might have had one. It's nice to get your fingers in and to be able to make it move. And perhaps on this one we put colours on that you can choose, and then you choose a number. And we put some fun activities inside. So whistle a tune, do a good turn, or what else did we put? Wink at someone. Sometimes you can just make one in really brightly coloured paper, just for the fun of making it and making it move. Or as a face or a puppet. Now, in one of the main things that we remember are the characters and the people that we used to love reading about in books or comics, or on TV shows or on radio shows. So I'll have a little time now looking at some of those. I've got a very early comic here called Champion. It's more like a magazine. This is from 1949. And it has a lot of stories in, less pictures, but these were serialised stories that you could follow week by week. And we love this character, Ginger Nut, the boy who took the biscuit. And what's really interesting in here is some adverts as well that also shows things that people were playing with, collecting cigarette cards, collecting particular stamps, and adverts for cycling and dynamo lights that you'd have on your bike. The faster you rode, the shinier your lamp would shine. This one was called the Philodine. Do you remember? Do you remember that, mate? And we have some more here. I'm sure that you remember the Beano or the Dandy, characters like Corky the Cat or Dennis the Menace, the Girl magazine, serialised stories of characters in there. Shall we have a quiz and see if you recognise any of these characters? Got a mixture of ones from comics and from the TV. I'll hold up a picture and see if you recognise who this is. This is a larger than life character. That's right. Desperate Dan with Cow Pie. Minnie the Minx from the Beano. How about this one? Start moving into superheroes now. Dan Dare from the Eagle comic. And a girl superhero. Little known, this one, you might recognise her. She's called Bullet Girl, and she worked with Bullet Man. How about this character from television? We used to have Watch with Mother and Andy Pandy and Little Ted. And this was an example of the American children's shows as well. Muffin the Mule was a puppet, and the presenter almost became as famous as the puppet. We've included a link below the film which takes you to examples on YouTube of children's TV shows, and you might want to watch a few of those and listen to the music and see the presenters again and remember some of those characters that you used to watch as a child. Maybe have a cup of tea while you're watching those. So when we do activities like this, it's really nice to see that we start remembering things that we thought had long gone or are forgotten, or it reminds us of something else, and takes us back to looking again at who we were when we were younger. It's really good and has been proven that reminiscence like this is very good for well-being, and it also helps you connect with people that are in your life now, and they learn a little bit more about you and what's important to you as well. So having a fun activity like this, you might be a group, or you might be as a family. It might be just a group of parents and grandparents and grandchildren together. But one thing that's really nice to do is to record what comes out of a session like this. Are there group memories that people have shared of a certain era, or something that has come about that tells you a little bit more about a person that you didn't know before? And what's quite nice is to create something like a memory book, and it just reminds everybody about what was important to that person, and you can use it again. You can bring it out, just putting in things like photographs of a particular place or things that were important to them. I've put some films in this one that were, and actors that were important, or particular quotes that somebody said when they had memory. And this person here who used to play the piano, and it was something that she was very good at, and in later life isn't doing anymore, but still remembers the songs and the tunes when she hears them, and was very good and very proficient at reading music. So we put things in there that were significant to her to see if it's something that she enjoys looking at again. So if you're inspired to do something as a result of this session, maybe a handling collection for a group, or a book like this, we'd love to hear from you and love to hear about how you've used these objects. Please put your comments below, or contact the museum and let them know when you bring the objects, when you collect the objects. I hope you enjoy having a play and enjoy playing. Thank you very much.